Alright friends, I am back. So let's take a look at this Alexander raid. So this is just the first boss. He's called Living Liquid, okay? And I'm just gonna run it and stop it whenever there's something. You can see the boss, like, you can see his feet right up there. That's the boss, Living Liquid. We're starting with a 10-second precast, and again, you saw this earlier in the VOD, but I start by precasting a big barrier on everybody, and this is like a big barrier precast combo that you can't very easily do in a fight because it requires multiple skills and lots of cooldowns. So this is like a nice precast people do. Yeah, yeah, there is going to be a stop literally every 2 seconds. You should be very much... There's a ton of stuff going on. This is a 3-minute encounter. Just the first phase of the boss, basically, but he is packed full with mechanics. So, as we walk in, we have our tank, main tank here, Evastel. He's taking the aggro of the boss. Everybody kind of stays behind him. And now, he starts with just a few auto attacks, and this is his first bigger attack. This is a tank buster. This is a general mechanic of this game. Tank busters are individual attacks aimed at the current tank that will deal a huge amount of damage. So for tank busters, the tank has to pop a cooldown that will reduce his individual damage. This has not been shown on the spreadsheet earlier, but every tank has like something that will take him a lot less damage. Some kind of mitigation attack for just himself. That's a big tank mechanic, right? So he here, I'm prepping heals. I placed my mitigation field here already so that he doesn't take as much damage from this as well. I'm intentionally putting it down early. So you can see this big swing attack, that's basically, it's an individual tank buster attack. And now we have to heal him back up because he's going to take a lot of damage throughout this fight. And I want to make sure he's topped off. Now here comes the boss with his first big attack called Cascade. And this will start a lot of his bigger mechanics. And you can see he has a long cast bar here, a long animation. And now he explodes into what we call a raid-wide ability. This is an undodgeable, unavoidable damage that is to everybody in the raid. This is like a heal check, right? You cannot avoid this. There's no dodge. In Guild Wars 2, you just dodge right now, right? In Final Fantasy, you don't have a dodge. You have to face tank this. So what you do is you place mitigation, like my field is still on the ground. It's still making us take 10% less damage. I assume one of the tanks might have reprisal here. So yeah, we take a little bit less damage than it would otherwise do, and we're quickly going to out heal. I've already lined up heals. You can see everybody already has a bit of barrier left, and here's the difference between my heal style and the other healer. The white mage, he will deal a lot. He will heal a lot of HP. I will give barrier and less healing, right? My heal ability called Sucker down here, that will give heals, but small heals, and it will also give a bit of barrier on top. So this is like, he makes sure that everybody's 100% health, and I make sure everybody's at 110% health, right? So that we can actually out-tank the next mechanic. So the next thing that happens here, okay? Once he does Cascade, you can see that he spawns these 3 puddles, right? One at like, and these are at random sides of the arena. So basically, the entire team now has to like change their thinking pattern into looking at the arena from the free area. 3 sides of the arena are going to be filled with puddles, and there's going to be 1 free area. So now we assign people to each barrier for to each puddle for the next attack. So you can see my assigned puddle is the middle one, because what the puddle is going to do is he's going to aim a cone attack at the closest target to it. And you can see it's going to pop right there. See, that's the cone. I'm baiting it because I am the closest target right now. And every other puddle also has 1 person next to it. And we use ranged DPS for this. You can see that our tank is moving the boss to this area, which also has a reason which I'm going to come to in a second. And meanwhile, I am baiting out this cone attack. And our 2 ranger, like the other one is standing right down here. You can't see him, right? But there's the other one, and this is where I'm baiting it. And this, you can step out of the first one, and it will do 1 big cone spray, and it will do a second one that doesn't have a range indication, and that will always hit you. Okay, so that's just the first thing that's happening. There's like a gazillion other things going on right now. Let's go back and watch what's happening as the boss casts Cascade. He casts Cascade, and what happens is his HP is cut down by half. And that is because he splits off into a second boss. See, he is now Living Liquid and Liquid Hand. The boss has split up in two bosses that each will have to get tanked. Now, what these will do is every couple of minutes, every minute or every 1.5 minutes or so, Liquid Hand will do an attack that will deal more damage depending on how close it is to the main boss Living Liquid. So what we have to do now, see, the tanks are moving the bosses away from each other right now, right? He's pulling the boss here. The second boss by the second tank gets moved to the other side of the arena. And that is because now he did an attack that dealt no damage because the boss was far away from us. And if you had done it close to us, then it would have wiped the group. And then there's one more mechanic that you have to look out for, which is that these two bosses, they have the same HP when he spawns. When the hand spawns, they have the same HP. If they go out of 5% HP difference to each other, let's say the Liquid Hand is at 30% HP and the boss is at 40% HP, the Liquid Hand will wipe us. If the boss is at 30% and the hand is at 50%, the boss will wipe us. There's just an insta-wipe. This must not happen. Like, it will check every, like, I don't know, every couple of, I don't know, like almost a minute or something. It will check how close those two are to each other, and it will wipe us. So you have to do all of these mechanics. Keep this in the back of your mind. Everybody has to check when are we attacking which boss, because if we attack one boss too much, we wipe. If we attack the other boss too much, we wipe, right? So that's a bit of a finicky part. That's what we're currently wiping to. That's like the last thing of the thing that we have to figure out, is like when who targets what and when to attack which boss. Anyway, now you can see the boss are pulled away from each other. The attack didn't kill us, so he's pulling the boss back in. And now you may be able to see, it's a bit of a detail. Yes, we went into this blind, but we did look at, like, I mean, other teams were faster than us, so we have looked at, whenever somebody figured out a mechanic, we looked at how they did it, and we've adapted our strats on top of it. Anyway, so now you see these ads here spawn, okay? And that is like the main hurdle of this phase, is how to deal with these ads. So what these ads will do, this is gonna be a long, fun explanation, guys. These ads will target the first person that attacks them. So here you can see Derpy here. He's playing a melee DPS class. So he's walking up to the doll, the jagged doll, and he attacks it. So the doll now focuses him. I afterwards help him. Now the goal of this is you have to... If you kill this ad, you wipe. Okay, first of all. If you kill this ad... he will deal unrecoverable damage, and you have to restart. What you need to do is you need to pull this ad into the boss, and when you pull it into the boss, the ad will disappear, and it will deal rate-wide damage. Okay, and if the ad is higher than 20% HP, then this rate-wide damage is enough to wipe you, okay? It will deal a huge amount of damage that will then wipe you. If it's lower than 20%, then it will deal a reasonable AoE damage that will not wipe you, but it's like a third of your HP, about a third of your HP. Let's just go with that for now. Maybe a little bit less, but about between a quarter and a third of your HP, rate-wide. So what you have to do is each DPS player... Oh, also, they have a popping AoE attack around them, which we could see there for a second. Okay, right now. Now, see that? This AoE attack. If you get hit by 2 of that, you die. Like, and it wipes you as well. Like, if you get... Like, each one of these AoEs will give you a... Yeah, we should... Sorry, I didn't prepare the big presentation, right? But yeah, if you get hit by 2 of these, you die, and you wipe it wipes... Actually, you don't just die, it wipes the group too. So you have to spread them away from each other. See how we make sure that people who stand in different spots of the map grab aggro of these? Like this ranged guy grabs this dude. This ranged guy grabs this guy. They spawn in a certain pattern, so everybody knows exactly who they are pulling. So we're spreading them out, and each DPS's job is now to get them to below 20 HP without killing them. And keep in mind, people in this game do not have 100% crit chance, so these guys have to take sudden RNG crits into account, which is actually incredibly finicky. This looks like it's easy, but because you cannot 100% predict how much damage a certain attack might do, you have to like... You have to actually like be a little bit big brain about this. You can't just brawl them down and rely on them being always 20%. Like you have to be a little bit careful, you know? And keep in mind, if one of them overdoes it and accidentally kills the ad, we wipe, right? And this has happened many times, okay? Many times. Okay, now you can see Derpy's the first one to do this. He got, because I helped him, his ad is very low already, it's below 20%, so he immediately he pulls it to the boss, and we now pull the boss back to the middle as well. The tanks move the boss back to the middle. And that was the first, this little explosion here, that was the first hand being drawn into the boss. And you can see how we all drop a bit of HP there, but it's not too terrible, we can out-heal this. And now the others get below 20%, and they are being pulled back in. By the way, in case Epona and Blaster, if you're watching, right? Remember how I was saying the other day that Epona may want to delay his a bit? Well, and Epona answered, like somebody answered that Epona usually does this. Guess which one's actually going in first? Anyway, basically we explode these, and we've prepared heals. Healers at this point are stacking here. We're bringing big mitigation. And we're stacking our heals. We're just spamming hard heals right now, because these have to be, like, not only do you have to be careful to not kill them, you have to be careful to pull them in a bit spread out so that we can actually react with our heals, because keep in mind I said that each of them does about 1/3% of your HP, and well, basically, if we would let them all explode at the same time, we would wipe. So we have to pull them out, we have to kind of spread out how we pull them in so that we can counter heal it. And like I don't know, like it's hard to see, but I'm actually pre-casting a heal here. I'm casting a heal there, I'm using an instant cast heal there as well, so I'm basically casting 3 heals within like 1 or 2 seconds there. It's just a huge amount of heal, and the other healer is of course also very busy. So this is a huge amount of healing going out there, right? And this is just the first 30 seconds, 1 minute of the fight, right? So there's the first minute of the fight. And you see how every DPS player has a job. You cannot just brain-let DPS the boss, right? Everybody has to stand exactly at the right spot at exactly the right time, face the DPS perfectly, and if anybody messes up, it's just a wipe. Like, there's no recovery. Like, you just wipe. And if the tanks don't move at just the right time, you wipe. And yeah, and there's another very fun mechanic happening, by the way, right at this point. Let's go back to, so as you may be able to see, I position into the middle here because of all the dolls have been moved out to the side, so their AoEs won't hit me in the middle. So now one more thing happens, and that is these little balls back here spawn, okay? These little balls back here are spawning, and they're going towards the direction of the boss. And 2 balls will spawn on random, not all puddles will spawn a water orb, but 2 will. So you can see this puddle here, oh actually you can barely see it, this puddle here spawned a water orb, and this puddle here spawned a water orb, and they're both aiming towards the boss. So they spawned when they were up here, and the ball here will go this direction now. So we pull the boss back into the middle, and we try to stack down here, because if this ball will hit the boss, a player, or even one of these ads, it will explode and wipe you. This is a one-shot orb of death. right? The one-shot watery puddle orb of death. Okay? If this touches anybody, you wipe. And you see how close this is. You see how if the tank moves just a step too late, if even one DPS is a little bit Pepega and stands too far to the north, you get shit on. It wipes you so quickly. It's so easy to wipe to all of this. Anyway, now we pulled in all the mobs, we got rid of the ads, and what happens next is the spread attacks. We've now successfully managed the ads, and this took a long time. This was like 8 hours of progress, I would say, until we actually managed to get the ad phase correctly. And now the spread happens, and there's going to be two spreads overall. And each of these spreads will consist of multiple spreads. So, basically, remember how these puddles did cone attacks on its closest target? Well, now the boss will do the same thing. And it will target 4 people or 5 people, and the main tank. It will target always 4 people and the main tank for a spread. And see, now we're all stacking on the south. So you see the spread again has an AoE indicator, much like it had on the puddles. So we can stack them and then move out of them. Now we position. We position. Now people, the 4 furthest away targets will now have an AoE drop on them. You can see 4 far away targets. We're bringing 1 person to each corner of the map, basically. Gets an AoE. Meanwhile, the 4 closest targets will get a cone spawn on them. See? This time without a range indication. And now, afterwards, again, the 4 closest targets will get a cone on top of them. So now the people who face tank the first cone, they have too low HP. See, Derpy, he's below 50% HP. He's too low HP to face tank the second cone. So we have to swap back out. Now everybody who was first melee, they have to go a bit ranged. And now the people that were ranged, they have to go in and be the closest targets. So that now they get them. And they are now below 50%. Do you guys understand what's going on? So you have to kind of do this fairly quickly, right? Like you have to first stack this out. Everybody go to where they are. The range go out to bait their AoEs. Then they have to quickly go back in to bait the second cones, right? And now it's so mean, dude. And now he just follows it up with like instant raid wide spam. Like you now have to constantly heal through this, right? Each one of these pulses, do you see him slam the ground? Each pulse does like 20% damage to the entire raid, right? Oh, and also, meanwhile, while this is happening, the tanks get tank buster attacks. See these little lines here that are going through the tanks? Well, they're going to explode in a second with a big AoE around them. So if you stand even a tiny bitsy bit too close to a tank, you die. And it's very hard to recover from a death. See, they're gonna explode right there. See, that was the tank buster AoE exploding right there. While we are out healing this big raid-wide, they're getting the tank bust and we have to out heal it. Okay, so now he does another, and God, it gets so mean. This is so mean, dude. Now he does for a second time, he will do the Cascade. Cascade, remember, is the attack where he does a big raid wide and spawns puddles. So now he will spawn 3 new puddles at different positions. So now the whole positioning changes again, and we all have to like realign with the map. But this does so much more. This Cascade is a little bit meaner than the first one. So what this one does is it will actually apply a debuff to 6 random players in your group. You can see it here, maybe, like, you can barely see it. It's these little red symbols with a white line on top. And what you have to do is, there's no group-wide cleanse in this game, okay, guys? There's no, not like, unlike Guild Wars 2, where you could now just, I don't know, spam F2 on a Scourge and cleanse everybody. There's only healers have an individual cleanse ability. So now healers have to individually cleanse everybody. And you have about 5 seconds, no, more than 5 seconds. You have about like, I don't know, 7 seconds for this or something. And then whoever still has this debuff will die. There's no other thing you can do. You have to cleanse everybody individually or they will die. And you have to do this while moving to the next position, while basically thinking of where you have to move to next. So right now, I am basically what we did. We said, and one healer can't do this. 6 people have this. Each time, each Condi cleanse will basically take like 2 seconds to cast. And since there's 6, there's too little time for one healer to cleanse all of them. So you have to now assign which healer cleanses whom. And what we basically did is we said every healer first cleanses himself, and then one healer will start at the top of his party list and start cleansing people, and the other healer will start on the bottom of his party list, which is it's mean. It's really mean, because like you have to now click through your party list and heal everybody. You still take damage, right? People still are low HP. Nobody's topped off here. There's going to be a big attack coming in soon. So we have to not only heal, we have to like also start clicking everybody individually here in the party list and cleanse them. And you have to quickly comprehend who still has this buff, right? It's like, I don't know, man. This is like a little detail that can really throw you off, like really hard throw you off. I've failed this like a couple of times before I got it right. Like that was one of my bigger fail sources yesterday, honestly. Okay, and now the second spread begins. So this is all happening while we're doing the bigger, broader macro mechanics, you could call them, right? This is like a micro mechanic next to the macro mechanics happening. Oh shit. Oh, that was wrong. What am I doing? Okay, so we cleansed everybody right in time before the spread attack happens. If you haven't cleansed everybody by now, you're done, right? That person is dead. See how up here you can actually see a tiny little 2. He has 2 seconds left on this. As I'm cleansing him, like my cleanse is like 3/4 through. If I had been 2 seconds slower, he would have died. So as the spread attack happens, you have to have cleansed everybody, otherwise that person will die. Okay, so now we basically do it a very similar way, but now what will be additional to this is that now you also bait out puddle cones from these guys. And remember, that was the very first attack that these did. And the very first phase, I baited out cones from the puddles. So these are now coming additional to his spread attack, right? Here's the boss cones and the puddle cones are on top of each other now. So what we have to do, see, is I'm running out. Again, we're baiting the same AoEs. And we run back in, and this bait, like, see up here, he baited the cones. Well, I'm actually supposed to bait this. He stood a little bit closer to me than me. It doesn't really make a difference. So the first cone will go up there. AoEs will be placed here. Derpy is at the position that I will now take, and Derpy and I will now swap positions, right? So I am now standing there, and now he has to tank a second cone, right? So I have to, we have to also like heal a little bit there, which is very tricky. So Derpy, he has to move out here. He has to wait for this AoE to resolve. He can't move in there too early. But now, look, he has to quickly move here. If he would stay here, his cone would be aimed this way, and it would hit the tank and possibly me, and would wipe us. So he has to quickly wait for the AoE, quickly run out for that second AoE to hit, right? So yeah, you can see how there's like a lot of like finicky, quick movement. And now is the time where you will actually see us wipe in a second, because we haven't quite made it through the phase yet. Now again you have to move the hand and the boss away from each other, because now the hand will do the attack that deals damage based on how close it is to the boss. So now the tank has to move out the hand and the boss away, right? And keep in mind, and this is what always wipes us, is they have to be within 5% of each other's HP or they will wipe us. So right now what we would need to do, this is what will wipe us. It's such a small thing, right? But the hand would have to be below 5% right now. Otherwise we're not able to kill the boss. The boss would have to be at like, I don't know, a couple of percent, maybe 8%, and the hand would have to be below 5%, and then we could just move away the hand and focus on killing the boss. But since it's just barely too high HP, we're not going to be able to do that. So we have to move away the hand, otherwise it would wipe us. Now the boss starts doing his big Great White's attacks. And what you will be able to see is that now 2 people went with the hand, because the hand is still too high HP. The hand isn't below 5% yet, so it would wipe us if we continued. So 1 DPS is going with the hand, and the others are going with the boss. And you can see now that because he's spamming these big Great Whites that we have to out-heal, we are not going to be in range to heal these 2 people, so they're gonna die down here, right? And yeah, like the other DPS just also, it's just that much damage that this deals. Oh, meanwhile you also have the Water Orbs of Death spawning again, because why not add another big mechanic to this, because it's not hard enough already. So yeah, we have to out-heal this stuff, and that's where we wipe, right? It's like, if we had all been together perfectly stacked, and the hand had been dealt with, we might have been able to do this. We might have been able to kill it. But since we had to move, since somebody had to move with the hand, this is his final DPS check. If you haven't killed him by the time that he finishes this Raid White, then the 3rd Cascade is just a wipe. See, he finishes the Cascade and it's a wipe. So yeah, like, it has a very, very significant DPS check. If you can't make this, you wipe. Yeah. So there we go. Okay. Whom's head is hurting after this? And just to remind everybody of what an ultimate is 4 or 5 bosses back to back. So this is basically the first phase. If you kill this guy, you manage to get to the first transition phase, which most people wipe on for a couple of hours, and then you manage to get to the second phase, which I think is actually harder, a lot harder than the first phase, and then the final, apparently hardest mechanic in the game, I've heard about this being the hardest mechanic in the game, is called it's called a wormhole, and I'm not sure which one. I think it's like one of the final big mechanics, but I'm not sure. I've just heard people talk about how it's apparently the hardest mechanic in the entire game, so yeah. Looking forward to that one. Yeah, so there we go. This was about 15 hours of progress for us to get to this point. We have not yet beaten this guy, but we're really close, right? The last thing missing is just a little bit more DPS on the second boss, on the hand. And then we'll get it, right? So I hope you guys now understand what we're doing when we're doing this, and I hope you guys see how many individual fail sources there are. Like, if one DPS does a bit too much damage on an ad, we wipe, right? If you angle the cone a little bit too much to the middle, you would wipe. If you go to the middle too fast when the ads spawn and you get hit by the AoEs that they do, you wipe. If you have too much if you deal too little DPS to the dolls and pull them in, you wipe. If the tank isn't fast enough moving the boss to a side, then the ad will be too close to it and will not have little enough HP. You wipe. You know, it's just, yeah. See, it's crazy. I hope you do this again. I hope so too. Yeah, I think this is a good idea. I hope it will be a lot more fun to watch us do progress. Or in general, if you guys watch other streams, to watch progress of this when you actually understand what is going on, right? Because when I watch second phase POVs right now, I don't know what's going on. I only know what's going on in the first phase so far, and that takes up all of my 5 brain cells. So yeah, let's just, you know what? Let's just watch it all again one more time. In quick succession, just so you get a feel for how quickly this is, and how short a phase this is, so stuffed full of mechanics, right? Yeah, and like, oh my god, like imagine doing everything correctly, and then somebody gets hit by a water orb because it just randomly, like, flew to his position. That's crazy. There goes the first Raid White now, not Raid White, the first Tank Buster. I place Mitigation. There's the big Raid White. I line up a sucker here, so the heal comes through right after the damage with the barrier. Everybody goes to their puddles. Bait the cones. I have to heal the tank. The tanks take constant damage, by the way. These auto attacks of the boss, they hurt. We are spot healing these tanks while we're doing this. He even has to proc an invuln there that pops him to 1% HP. Okay, now I run back to the middle. I have to we as healers, we have to make sure that we can heal this guy and this guy. So we have to stand in the middle. We have to stand... That's why we have to pull out these adds. And if one add is even slightly too far to the middle, we'll probably die. So now we're just spamming out our heals. We're preparing now for the big incoming damage when all of these three adds are being pulled in. Because this is just so much damage at the same time. It's such a Monka-esque moment for the healers when these adds are being drawn in. And one little thing maybe to mention here real quick is these bigger heals that I'm using, those are your main mana drains. In an easier raid, you wouldn't be using this much heal, so you use a lot less mana. You can see that I'm actually running incredibly low on mana here. It's like... There were tries where I was here and I was just out of mana because I had used just one too much heal. So you can't even just brain that spam your heals. Like, even that you can't do. Because, like, if you do it, you're gonna run out of mana and you're not gonna be able to out-heal this phase now. See, I'm so low on mana right now. I can only use one sucker and the rest I have to do with OGC heals, with off-global cooldown heals, which have a much higher cooldown. And, yeah... Okay, now comes the Condi cleanse. You can see me frantically click through the party list trying to cleanse everybody. And now we have to spread again. Moving out, baiting the ranged puddles while melees bait the cones. Then we swap positions. And right now everybody's like, oh my god, we did it! Oh my god, we did it, guys! Oh my god, we didn't wipe the second spread! Insane! It's insane! And now we realize that this guy is too high HP and that we're probably gonna wipe. So, yeah, feels so bad. The entire... It's full of Monka-esque moments, dude. Especially on, I don't know, it feels so Monka-esque. That's something I'm not used to from Guild Wars 2, is that you cannot avoid damage. There are so many attacks in this game that will just leave you with like 1 HP, and you're just standing there like, oh my god, please, please heal ability go through.